spreading harmful messages when it comes to actually doing cold outreach. So I'm trying to educate the market now on how to do it well. It will change the whole way of how you're approaching cold outreach. And the mindset is pretty simple. You should basically send email people want to receive. So you should think about your recipient, not about you as a sender. This is all wrong. In 2025, the volume game is over. You have to think, what's my strategy, and have the right mindset to write good emails.
When I get a really long email, I switch off on the spot. I feel like this is too long. And, you kind of see the intro, the bullet points, the conclusion. It's almost like an essay. What's your experience?
So the less you do, the less chances of making a mistake. And I think it applies perfectly for cold outreach. The less words you add, the less chances of screwing something up. You need to build trust in your cold outreach. A lot of people are wasting that. Their first line is like, oh, big fan of your podcast, Joanna. I was just like, yeah, right. You don't believe us. Is it really?
Coming back to deliverability, I'm curious, how does QuickMail make their deliverability so much more better than, say, all the other enterprise platforms in the world? What's the secret?
And it's proving to be absolutely great for deliverability. So basically, it's a tick box. And when you tick it, every email you send, we're going to have AI rewriting it, not losing the meaning, but changing all the words.
Yeah.
And so you end up with...
Welcome everyone to another episode of SaaS Stories. Today I'm joined by Jeremy Chatelain, founder and CEO of QuickMail. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Joanna, for having me.
All the way in Sapporo right now. I'm a little bit jealous, but never mind. Let's start with your story. What led you into the world of SaaS? How did QuickMail come to life?
Oh, that's a broad question. I'm going to try to answer it as simply as I can. I was an engineer by trade, and I did probably like 15 different projects with none making any money whatsoever, even some losing money. And I was so frustrated, I took a course on entrepreneurship. It was called The Foundation. And after 8 months of really grinding it, I basically managed to actually create QuickMail. Originally, I was contacting people down under, contacting financial planners in Australia, and I had only 2 hours every day to work on my business. And after spending an hour and a half on doing email every morning in order to try to arrange some meeting, to go on meeting, I thought like, there must be a better way. And that's really how I started to create QuickMail, basically, just because of a need, scratching my own itch.
That's always the case, isn't it? I think some of the greatest stories start with, I had a problem that I had to solve. There was nothing fantastic on the market, so I invented it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. Nowadays, like there are, tons of solutions for that. But we opened the market. I think we were 3 people to open the market. It was back in 2014. There was a few solutions there and there, like Yesware and stuff, but they were not really doing anything that needed to be done, which is sending a drip campaign email type of thing.
So tell us, what exactly is QuickMail? What does it do? I know there's direct mail in there, but maybe give us a bit more.
Hence the name, right? Yeah, we should have started by that, basically. So QuickMail is an automation platform for cold outreach, and you can do it through email and through LinkedIn automation. So we added LinkedIn a couple of years ago now, which is basically the idea that you need to reach out to a few people. And so you will craft a message, you can personalize it with merge tag and things like that. And then the software will automatically pick up a certain number of people to contact every day and then follow up. If they didn't reply, they stop the sequence. So it's basically a way of, getting replies. And I use it every day. You don't have to do it for cold. You can also do it for your own network. Let's say, for example, you have an idea that you want to discuss with your own network, certain persons, then you will create your own list. And then you will create the message and then you will reach out to them. That's actually what I did lately. Like last week, I started doing that for my own network, wanted to reconnect with some founders to ask them some questions. And then, my week now is absolutely full pack of meetings. So
what have you done?
Yeah, exactly, right. That's basically the core concept of QuickMail.
Yeah, and so QuickMail's now been around for a decade, which is rare in SaaS. Well done. Now, aside from that as a marketing strategy, have you done anything else, or has this pretty much been it, and it's been effective throughout?
You mean as a personal founder with the software?
In terms of promoting the software and getting more and more customers on board?
Well, 10 years is a long time, so you got to try a lot of things and you got to also do a lot of mistakes. And I'm guilty of a lot of mistakes. I'm a first-time founder, so there's a lot of, try and fail, try and error type of approach. But I think SEO was really important for us at the time, And today, actually, the SEO actually transformed into ChatGPT questions. And that is proven to actually be growing very rapidly in the last 6 months. ChatGPT has been pretty dominant in terms of creating trials for us now.
It's amazing how many blogs ChatGPT could write compared to what humans used to do, right?
It's more than that, actually. I think, Joanna, the game with ChatGPT is more that people are asking what solution exists out there, more than actually the creation of content.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So if
And
ChatGPT is putting your link forward, then more people are going
correct.
there.
People
It's
are
kind
just
of the
asking, like,
newest.
this is a journey. When you actually start a new product that no one knows about or no one understands initially, then a lot of the work is to educate the market as to what's a drip campaign, like what's cold
Mhm.
email. Like you asked that in the past, no one knew like what's cold email. It's like, well, you're reaching out to someone you don't know. It's just simple as
Yeah.
that. Oh, you should do that. Yeah, and you can automate it and you can, have follow-ups and stuff. So a lot of that is education, but at some point the market is educated enough. And so it becomes like, well, how are you different? And then that's a completely different position and that's a completely different conversations. And for us, we've been very strong on deliverability and stats, right? Those were the two really main points. So if you wanted deliverability, then you will come to us. So that's basically the sort of like evolution. And ChatGPT is really good at that because now you just ask like, hey, how do I got a good deliverability with cold outreach? And then
Mm.
you're gonna, oh well, you should try a quick mail. That's basically how it works now.
Yeah. I definitely believe in the power of cold email. I mean, I've been in marketing for 20 years plus, and
Oh yeah?
we definitely do it as an approach. I see it working time and time again. Deliverability is a big one because you now have so many platforms that are out there. You've got HubSpot, you've got your Salesforce, you've got all the
Yeah.
big enterprise ones. I actually find they're not best at deliverability. You actually get
Oh, they're
more
absolutely terrible.
deliverability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Well, that's why they are, smaller solutions, right? And then they're also extremely expensive. If you go to HubSpot
Mhm.
sales, for example, people are like paying a fortune for the branded name HubSpot. In terms of results, well, not that great. We
Mhm.
have actually very affordable plans now. Like since the beginning of the year, we did what I call a no-brainer plan, which is basically for $9 a month, you have one inbox and one LinkedIn account, and then you can do your outreach. So it's super great for people like me who started in the beginning, I just want something that does it all, not a lot of investment. And if people like it and they need to grow, then they can move to different plans with us. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's been working pretty well for us.
No, for sure. I definitely see it working well, not just for startups, but also for big companies, enterprises. They get a lot of value out of cold email. And I feel like cold email is a little bit misunderstood or done poorly. So
100%.
maybe give us some advice, all of the people out there that are not getting the results that they want. What are the biggest issues aside from deliverability? How is it done wrong?
It's a great question. And in fact, I will start by saying there's a lot of influencers out there that are actually spreading harmful messages when it comes to actually doing cold outreach. So I'm trying to educate the market now on how to do it well, because obviously I got like 11 years experience of seeing campaigns. Like I've seen like billions of emails being sent with our platform. And so it's easier for me to say like, well, that doesn't quite work well. I would say there's a couple of misconceptions, but the first thing I would always try with is to start with the mindset. And that's huge. It will change the whole way of how you're approaching cold outreach. And the
Mhm.
mindset is pretty simple. You should basically send email people want to receive. So you should think about your recipient, not about you as a sender, because a lot of people are going to do, hey, here's my stuff,
Yeah.
it's great, it's like they're just like very very selfish emails. And what
Yeah.
you want to send is actually caring emails. So that's the biggest one. The second one is the strategy. The strategy means like it's more than who do you go after and what do you say. It's actually the output of a strategy really should say like what's your angle, like how we're going to approach this outreach, right? And how we're going to start a conversation with people, because that's what outreach is about. It's not to try to sell, it's actually try to start a conversation. And
Hmm.
so an example would be like, hey, we have a $29 a month product. We're going to try to sell it to our audience, to our ICP, ideal customer profile. Turns out that maybe that's not a great strategy. Maybe a great strategy is actually to go to course creators who actually serve those people. And then you're
Hmm.
going to say, okay, well, how can I bring value to the course creator? Like, is there something that I can reach out to them that will be interesting to them? And that's really what the strategy is really about. And a lot of people are skipping all of that and they go straight to like, well, let me
Yeah.
write what my product is about and then reach out as many people as I can. This is all wrong. In 2025, the volume game is over. You have
Mm.
to think, what's my strategy, and have the right mindset to write good emails. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It does. No, I totally agree with that. Strategy is a big one. I think people all get scared by strategy because they think it needs to be like this massive 50-page deck or something like
Yes,
that. It's just
that's
two
right.
sentences. Just write your gut. It doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
big. Is that your
And it
experience
has
with
to make
strategy?
sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so. Coming back to deliverability, so one thing I've learned is, the very first email that you send out, don't put a link in it. What else helps with deliverability?
A fantastic and very timely question, actually. I will go against this advice
Ah.
because here's the thing. Nowadays, and that's what I mean by like following harmful, influencers.
Mhm.
So, well, it's not the influencer that are harmful; it's more their advice. But basically, what they say is like, oh, you should send absolutely no image, no link, no nothing, and
Mm.
then you end up with an email that is absolutely empty and void of anything that is authority based. So basically, it could be one guy, 14 years old guy in India, in wherever in the world that sent an email. And it could be a second time founder that has successful exits, that is like having like a fantastic product. You look at the two emails like, well, they're the same. Well, how are people receiving those emails are going to make a difference, are going to be able to differ between like that thing is legit and that thing is not, if you don't put anything. And so my advice is different. If you want good deliverability, you just want replies because that's the best signal you could ever get. People replying. So you can try to hack your way around like, oh, plain text, using multiple inboxes, using multiple domain, whatever, only sending one email per domain. Like that's great if you want to send things that people don't want to reply to. But the goal really of cold outreach is to get replies. And so if you have something that has replies, it doesn't matter what you're sending. And so that's really the mindset shift that I want people to have, is that if adding your LinkedIn profile is going to make you legit and people treat you more seriously and so on, well, just add it. If you actually been on TV or you have links to case study that are absolutely no brainer for people to figure out that you're legit, you have authority, you're a good service and I should go with you, absolutely put it. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like my friend is like multi-exit founder, hugely successful. I look at his email and I was like, there's nothing about that. Like I can't really check you out and realize like, oh, you're serious, you're legit about your email. And he was complaining he's get no replies. I think those kind
Yeah.
of advice about, put it as plain as possible to get great deliverability are actually harmful to good cold outreach.
Mm. I'm actually relieved to hear that because I hate like big blocks of text in an email. I would love to see an image, even a little animation, a link to somewhere.
It's probably too much for the animation. It may not bring anything.
That probably will affect the deliverability.
Right.
What other mistakes are people making with cold outreach and also on LinkedIn? I mean, I think, we're all kind of scared by accepting that connection request only to get hammered by the sales message straight after.
This is a lot of thing that people get wrong is you need to build trust
Yeah.
in your cold outreach. A lot of people are wasting that. Their first line is like, oh, big fan of your podcast, Joanna. I was just like, yeah, right. You don't believe us. Is it really how you want to start the conversation with something that is not believable? No, of
Mm.
course not. You want to build trust so people are like saying like, oh, well, they may consider genuinely your offer. And that's exactly what you want. So stay away from attracting subject line or like, flashy subject line or stuff like that. Like, no, just do like something super simple with a preview text that makes sense and makes the people want to open if they read that subject line. To me, I see subject line as a little bit contract, right? So
Mm.
for example, if you want to talk about, let's say, Joanna, you want to have some people on your podcast. Your subject line doesn't have to be urgent, whatever, or like, lots of really like fancy things and an iteration. No, you could just be like podcast. That's it. That's what you want to talk about. Just like the subject line is podcast. And then if I'm interested in podcast, then I may open it and see what does she want about podcasting. And then by just doing this and then having your value proposition around podcasting, then it's just like that person, build trust with me at every line. And then the first line could simply be like, I've seen you on LinkedIn as an authority on cold email, whatever. And then you tell them where you come from, and then they will listen to you. And then they will genuinely look at your offer. It's much better than trying to be confusing, like trying to keep the mystery and so on. Like, no one is up for those riddle games. As you say, it's like, I'm not accepting an invite to just get the pitch right away. But what if the invite is telling you, something simple? It's like, hey, Joanna, would love to be on your podcast. Are you open to connecting?
Yeah.
Then you know what it's about. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
there's no
Get
mind
to the
game
point.
behind. Yeah, it's like, but it doesn't have to be aggressive, right? It could just be like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. If you want, just accept the connection. And then that way is like both parties are agreeing to go on a conversation journey, and then that's it. And that way there's no trick game. There's no like, discussing things when, they accept and, the pitch. And that's very open. And I much prefer having 3% or like 10%, reply rate that is like that than having 20% or like 80% open rates and then no replies at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So be
No.
upfront, be clear, save them time, let them raise their hand themselves saying like, I'm okay for a conversation. That's really what you want.
That's the key, isn't it? There's trust, but there's also saved them time, you said, which I thought that's a big one because people are just no one's bored anymore. We have so many things that keep us entertained. We almost have an attention problem. So if you're beating
Sure.
around the bush
Too
instead
much
of just
noise.
getting to the point, they just switch off. They're like, no, this is too hard to interpret. I don't even want to look at it.
100%. And the interesting thing as well is you don't need to be so high tech, right? So again, had a friend didn't get any result and he said, I don't understand. I'm doing this. I'm using this software to generate, intro lines. I'm doing this. It's like, well, how about you actually just contact 10 people and then you make sure that what you say is thoughtful instead of using ChatGPT to write a sentence. You don't even know what that sentence is. It's crazy. Like people just blindly trust AI. They basically have AI writing their intro line. They don't know what it writes and they assume it's going to be good. It's like,
Yeah.
when was the last time you put an intern to write an introduction line and then you don't even verify what they're writing and then you just trust them? It's like, I trust you, bro. It's just like never gonna work. Instead, just write a thoughtful intro line. And it doesn't have to be really crazy. It just means like, I find you there. That's all people want to know is like, why are you contacting me? Oh, I find your post on LinkedIn about, emails. Oh, okay, you come from LinkedIn. Fine. Or it's just, I saw you on that podcast. Okay, cool. And then move on. It doesn't need to be rocket science. And if you want to be like that, I would say use a PS because in a PS, you could be about anything. I could be like,
Yeah.
hey, Joanna, by the way, I love your down under. I love the Sydney Opera House, whatever. Those sort of things, they're kind of odd. They're not really linked to your value proposition, but that makes you human. So I think it's good.
That's key, isn't it? It makes you human. I think people at some point are just going to start battling, proving that they haven't used AI because there's like AI is everywhere in content now. And before AI, I'm now seeing a lot of my friends, like the way they're writing LinkedIn posts, I'm like, that's not you. You're not that clever. Go back to who you were.
Yeah, ghostwriting is a thing as well, actually. I write my own posts myself, but I know a lot of people who don't, and that's interesting.
How do you use AI and how does QuickMail use AI as well? Or do you kind of recommend sticking more to the human element and doing that research into the person?
Great question. I don't think necessarily you need research into that person. I think you can use AI to accelerate some of the research bit, which is I think that's where AI is good at. It's consuming a lot of volume data and summarizing stuff. I think that's great at it. Writing, not so much. So I would recommend you keep writing your stuff and instead of relying on an AI to do that. And I believe that you could do very thoughtful message if you actually spend time to do prospecting properly, right? For example, if you actually do prospecting for a certain small audience, it's much easier to do a thoughtful message for that audience rather than contacting the whole world and then having AI try to figure out what kind of message can I write for that
For
person, right?
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's say, for example, I'm reaching out to bikers in Australia, but you could say, hey, I happen to be on that super great road. Have you done that one? And then that's it.
Mm,
And then you could suddenly like have the same message to 5,000 people, but that's a thoughtful message because it's only for that group, you know.
yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way of doing it. And if you want to use AI, just use AI to vet people, making sure that they actually are those bikers, they're actually active. Those type of things is great with AI. Writing, not so much. I would avoid it.
Yeah, for sure. I think niching is important and knowing your audience and being able to segment, like you said, the bikers from the runners, from the,
Yeah.
everybody else.
Surfer is great. I do reach surfing as well. So
Yeah.
people like surfing, and I just like, are you planning on catching a wave this winter?
Mm,
It's just great. It's a
yeah.
simple, subtle stuff, and it works really great. You don't need to catch everyone.
Now that you mention it, actually, I just remembered, and I haven't used this in a while, but my very effective LinkedIn outreach message to people back in the day, I mentioned that I was a skier. Not everyone responded, but the people that did were skiers, and they really got hooked into that one line, and they were
There you
happy to
go.
keep chatting just because of that.
Yeah, you're human. I want a connection with you. And the problem with those AI is like, it's kind of the uncanny valley is like, you don't trust those lines. A
No, you
human
can
won't
smell
write
it from
that.
miles away.
Right. Why would you want to start a conversation with someone who
With a
is,
robot.
disingenuine?
Let's talk about copy in all the LinkedIn messages as well as the direct emails. Short, long, like does it matter? When I get a really long email, I switch off on the spot. I feel like this is too long. And you kind of see the intro, the bullet points, the conclusion. It's almost like an essay. What's your experience with that? Should we keep it short and simple?
When I was passing my driving license quite a long time ago, the instructor said something that actually stuck with me. He said, Jeremy, when you're going to pass the exam, do the least possible. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, because they're not here to assess how good you are, but to pick up on any problem you're going to create. So the less you do, the less chances of making a mistake. And I think it applies perfectly for cold outreach. The less words you add, the less chances of screwing something up. And so for people doing the essay, it does work as long as each line is making the reader wants to read the next one. And obviously, if you start with AI, then obviously you already start handicapped. But that's the point. And so you have more chances with smaller email just for that. It's not really a problem with really the text. It's or the length of the text more than it is a problem with the actual content of the text. That said, what you said about like initially see a wall of text is just like, I don't want to invest that time in that. Right. So again, shorter works better, but not shorter to a point that you can't see the difference. There you go.
Yeah.
That you can't see the difference from someone just sending you like a one-liner and has no background whatsoever. On LinkedIn, you're a bit more advantaged because people can check your profile.
Yeah.
Right. But on email, you have no chance. So a blank email with just a couple of lines, I don't know who you are. Are you legit? What's your authority? Do you have social proof? All those things don't come across with just one liner. So it's an art and a science called email. You have
Yeah.
to balance it.
It is a little bit of a struggle because especially when you get ChatGPT to write it and it writes, this much long verse, and you're like, this is really good. I don't know what to cut out from it. But yeah, it's like you said, an art and a science trying to give value to the person, show them what you're about, and really hook them, start the relationship, I suppose.
100%.
Coming back to deliverability, I'm curious, how does Quick Mail make their deliverability so much more better than, say, all the other enterprise platforms in the world? What's the secret?
Secrets, I tell you, Joanna, is working 10 years on it.
Yeah.
So you got some ideas. There's a lot of innovation that goes into QuickMail. One example was last year, around July, August, Microsoft basically went hard on people sending bulk emails, which is basically recognized by sending always the same type of emails, right? Or all the same text emails. And so obviously there's spreading. So you basically use multiple domains, and you send lower volume from each domain, which in the aggregate send you the same amount of volume. So we got inbox rotation that we invented, by the way, in 2019, I think, or earlier. But anyway, we invented the inbox rotation, which means you have one campaign, you just add multiple inboxes for multiple domain, and you send the same volume but spread across, so it's much harder for spam filter to detect. However, last year, Microsoft been pretty good at doing that. And so what we had to come up was, how do you make them unique? How do you make each of your emails unique? And in the past, we had what we call spin tags. So basically, you could say, hey, you're going to use this version or this version at random. And if you put it enough into your email, you kind of like patch, grab a bit there and grab. But it's really hard to edit and modify because you have like one email that looks very difficult to read because you're gonna get hi, then a syntax, and you're gonna hey, and then it's gonna choose between hi and hey. It's gonna say you got like whole things like that. It's really hard. So what I did one night, I wake up and I say, wouldn't that be great if every email is like completely unique? I'm like, how the hell we could do that with AI? And so I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was in Japan, and I worked through the entire morning, beginning of the afternoon, and then my team woke up and I say, hey, here's the new feature. You guys test it. And it's called Reword with AI, and it's proving to be absolutely great for deliverability. So basically, it's a tick box. And when you tick it, every email you send, we're going to have AI rewriting it, not losing the meaning, but changing all the words.
Yeah.
And so you end up with every email is absolutely unique that you're sending. And it's
Yeah.
proved to be like absolutely brilliant in terms of deliverability. So that's the
Right.
biggest thing. We have other things like deliverability AI, which basically means it's an upgrade of the inbox rotation. So instead of using just 5 inbox, for example, for your campaign, you will actually have 10 inboxes in your account or maybe more. And what QuickMail will do is it will monitor the deliverability of all your inboxes. And when the deliverability of one is going down, then it will replace it with a new one. And so now you don't need to do anything anymore. It just like automatically replaces inbox when they're actually not performing well. And so you get them like on recovery mode. And then when it goes back, then, it's ready to go back for prime time. And then people use that with 5 inbox, you could still do it manually. But when you got like 100 inbox in your campaign, that's a bit more demanding. So those are some examples of what we do for deliverability, but we got more.
Yeah. That's really interesting, actually, like changing some of the words just to make sure they're a bit more unique. It made me think of personalization as well. So is that maybe one way you can make all the emails different just by having those personalization tags but they're all related to
Yes.
maybe separate things rather than just your basic ones, which are first name, company name.
Yes, exactly. Most people these are must. The must is the first name. If you want to open a conversation with someone, you have to know their name. If you don't, then it's
Yeah.
really hard to open a conversation with someone you don't know the name, at least with email. But personalization is, like I mentioned, if you use AI to personalize the first line, that's great, but you don't know what AI is saying. So you're actually just basically sending random stuff and you're hoping then for volume. Let's hope that AI will get it right at some point. It's just like, it's not great. But people are using a lot of personalization that way. But there is smarter personalization, which is, the sector, the industry you're in, or the activity. You could, like I mentioned about the surfer stuff, you could, just basically pick a hobby. What hobby do they have? And then use that hobby in a personal line. So there's a lot of things you can do. It doesn't necessarily make your whole message unique, and it will be only like places. You could see an email and say, this is how we will templatize this email. You could see it. But again, template is not the game anymore, right? It's more about the strategy and who you want to talk to and what's the message you're going to sell them. That's a bit more successful than just, templatize an email. Well, so templatize could have worked in the past, but that's why rework with AI works so much better because you don't need that anymore.
Yeah. So how do you balance scale with personalization? Can you have both, or is it
Yes.
you kind of have to pick
Yes.
one?
I love that question. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes.
Mm.
What you have to do is you have to do multiple small lists. And that's what people don't like to do. So you do
Mm.
small campaigns, but a lot of them, and that
Yeah.
brings you the volume. But small campaigns are much better. They're much more successful
Yeah.
because you basically know who you're targeting. You know your value offering for that specific target audience. It makes the writing easier. It makes the prospecting easier. It makes the campaign easier, and you get better results. It's always the case. Personalization is easier at small scale.
Yeah.
Right? But people
Absolutely.
somehow they say like, yeah, I don't want 200 people campaigns. I want 20,000. It's like, yeah,
Oh.
but I can bet you're going to get the same reply rate as I do, or like the same number of replies as I do. Like, I think last week, I contacted about 100 people, 97, whatever, and I have more than 20 meetings already booked. Meetings book,
Amazing.
not
That's a
talking
pretty
about
good
replies.
conversion rate.
Right. But it's just like, it was a no-brainer. It's a great
Mm.
offer. People resonate with this. It makes sense for them. So let's just jump on a call. It may not lead anywhere. It may lead anywhere. But the point is that it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. We've mentioned AI a couple of times in our conversations. I'm just curious, where do you see AI and automation going in the next 5 years? I don't think anyone can truly predict this, but
No,
what are
I'm
your
not in a
thoughts?
predicting game, Joanna. I'm not in a predicting game, Joanna, but I can see trends. And the
Yeah.
sad thing about trends is like, it's going to be AI talking to AI. And so where's the human part in that? That's going to be
Mm.
tricky because I got a friend working on AI handling of your emails, right? Then you have people doing AI sending, and it's already happening. You got AI talking to AI. How dumb is that?
Yeah.
That so I don't have the answer about like what's next, but I can bet that people will tune off. Like it's already happening. Like people are tuning off of social media because it's just a lot of junks
Yeah.
now. I think people are craving for genuinity, genuine connections. So, don't start your email, trying to be fake or like, hack your way in. If you're coming up front and genuine, people will resonate with that way more because they're craving this at the moment. And I think
Mm.
that's what my campaign was about, showing a little bit of vulnerability. Like, hey, I'm struggling with X. Could we have a talk? That works super great because you're not trying to con them into, having a call with you. You're just being genuine. And people
Yeah.
just love that. It's human to human in the end. And I think AI is just, we're going to have a pendulum swing back at some point. But I think we're still going toward the AI at the moment.
It's so
That's
true,
my
isn't
take.
it? Yeah, no, it's so true. It made me think of a story. One of a really good relationship that I formed recently was on the back of me making a spelling mistake in my LinkedIn outreach. He's
Yes.
like, "You're human."
Yes,
Um,
it passed. That time passed, unfortunately. Like now, people, did it on purpose at scale, and I think it's backfiring a little bit. Like people saying, like,
right.
"You're sending me outreach," because now people know it's outreach. This is a funny thing. So it's like, "Oh, you're sending me outreach," and you're not even like, spending the time to fix your mistakes or whatever, right? So I think it's backfiring a little bit. I think you could be very successful with outreach if you assume people know it's going to be automated. Because if they know, then you drop the game. There's no game anymore.
Mm,
So if I'm sending you an email and you know it's going to be automated, then well, I'm getting rid of all the games and riddles and stuff like that, and I'm just trying to be the most, honest I can. What's this conversation about? What I'd like in that conversation and what's in it for you. And it's just like, okay, people want to do like I had some replies of, my calls. I had some replies saying like, I bet it's automated, but I still want to chat. I was like, yeah, great. It was automated and I also want to chat. Great. And then we went on a chat.
yeah, just be upfront, I think.
That's right.
Work-life balance. What are your thoughts on work-life balance? I mean, you're traveling quite a bit. You're now in Japan. It sounds
Yep.
like, you do travel quite a bit and work from
Yep.
different places around the world. What are your thoughts on work-life balance? Can you be successful in business and still have that balance?
I think you can, definitely, 100%. I got some friends who have more balance than I have, but at the same time, I don't really like this work-life balance idea. I'm not sure I'm the right person to give advice on this, but I think it's all about what gives you energy, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, working on my business is giving me energy, and having the opportunity to travel and work in different places it's the best for me, right? It may
Hmm.
not be for everyone, but it is for me. So I'm very fortunate to love what I'm doing and spend as much time as I can doing what I love doing. Right. I think the people who need work-life balance are people who sacrifice things they should not and don't like what they're doing, and it's draining energy from them. That's why they need the other side of the balance. I managed to be fortunate enough to have combined my work with my life. And
Hmm.
so I get to work all the time, but not necessarily in a bad way. Like sometimes it's just thinking about things, right? As a founder, you never really switched off, right? You just
No.
can't really, but you can stay away from the computer and stuff. But to me, it's just like I travel instead of sticking away. I keep the computer with me. I travel. To me, that's good enough. Like today, I'm in Sapporo. Next week, I'm in Hakodate. The week after, I'm back in Tokyo. Go back in Switzerland, spend a week with my daughter in another European country, then go back for a week at home, then go back for a month in Thailand. It's just like it's
Yeah.
fine, it's fun. That's my life. That's what I like. So craft a life you love. Doesn't matter about work-life balance in the end.
I love
That's my
that.
take.
Base it off energy. I think what
Yeah.
energizes you. And, not everything needs to energize you because everyone's going to have a set of tasks that they just have to get on with. But
Yes.
as long
Of
as,
course.
a certain percentage of that is
That's right.
energizing, then yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Um,
You don't want to feel miserable, right?
no. Absolutely
But I know people who
not.
go, for example, who burned out and 20 hours a week. It's just like
Yeah.
it's not really that, right? It's just like there was no interest in what he was doing, and he was just like not going anywhere with it, and so that burns
Yeah,
yourself out.
for sure. Jeremy, my last question for you. It's a tradition on this podcast. If you could go back in time and give yourself one bit of advice, could be personal, could be business, could be any point back in time, what would that advice be?
Because it has to be just one, because
Oh,
I
you
made
go
so
for it. You
many
can give
mistakes.
two.
I would think I'd go back and warn myself about spending unproportionate amount of effort on the product. Well, basically, I think we have one of the best products in the market, technically speaking, but a lot of other products are making way more noise. And that's a shame for the consumer in the end, I believe. So a lot more people could benefit from knowing quick mail. And I would
Mm,
say the product is important for sure, but find the fastest way possible to get exposure on the market more because your client deserves it. Your future
mm.
client deserves it. And unfortunately, that's not how it plays out. Some people who are really smart in marketing came into the market and actually swoop a lot of the market. And I think that was probably the biggest mistake I made as a founder of this company, spending way too much resources and effort on the product and naively thinking that, people word of mouth or whatever will actually work bigger than, paying influencers and ads and stuff like that. And I learned quite recently that at that time when this happened, people were spending more on ads and influencers and content and stuff like that than we were getting in terms of revenue from clients. So, how do you compete with that? You don't.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the best marketing campaigns don't necessarily have the best product, but yeah,
It's
there's
very
definitely
true.
something to it. Thank you so much for being in the show. I hope you enjoy the rest of your trip in Japan.
I definitely will, but thank you so much for having me today, Joanna. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.